Explores the role of public-private partnerships in two innovative integration projects led by municipal governments in the cities of Chicago and Turin. Our session will begin with framing remarks by Darren Petzod, who is Executive Director of Grantmakers concerned with immigrants and refugees. She will just give us some context for the Chicago Community Trust's role in the Chicago case. Then we'll have Claire O'Shea, who's Senior Planner with the Village of Mount Prospect, a suburb of the metropolitan Chicago region, who will tell us how the project rolled out locally and describe its impact on the community. We will then have Luca Cianfriglia from the city of Turin to tell us why the Porta Palazzo project, or the Gate as it's called, has been such a success in that great Italian city. The session will end with a moderated Q&A session with our experts looking at the question of public-private partnerships and how they work. And now I'd like to invite you to join me in welcoming Darren Petzod, Executive Director of the U.S. Grantmakers concerned with immigrants and refugees. Hi there, Darren. Welcome to City
Hi, Kim. Good morning, everyone. Grantmakers concerned with immigrants and refugees, GSER for short, is pleased to co-sponsor today's webinar with the Maitrey Foundation and its Cities of Migration program. And as Kim noted, this webinar is a forum for us to share ideas and learn from one another, and I hope that today's webinar will spur all of us, whichever sector we represent, to consider how we might partner with foundations, non-government organizations, local governments, and civic organizations to promote immigrant integration. On this slide, you'll see just a little bit about what we do, and I'll just let you look at that at leisure. I quickly wanted to thank the Maitrey Foundation, particularly Kim Turner and Evelyn Sui for their organizing of this call, and also my colleague at GSER, Allison DeLuca, for helping plan this call as well. As the slide says, the organization I represent is a U.S.-based foundation network that promotes effective grant making to improve the lives of immigrants and refugees and strengthen local communities that are affected by migration. As you can see, we undertake a lot of activities in our organization. And today, though, I want to talk about one of the things that we recently published, which is a case study on the Chicago Community Trust and its investment in public-private partnerships. Juan Lay of the Chicago Community Trust, whose VP of Programs will be on the call later today to answer questions that you might have. But this case study is based on a 3-year, $1.5 million initiative that the Chicago Community Trust launched to increase immigrants' participation in the civic, economic, and social life of their communities. And I'll draw on the findings of this case study pictured here on the right, and it can also full case study can be found on both the Cities of Migration website as well as our own website at gcir.org. And I'll also draw on the experiences of other member foundations and our own work with local governments in my opening remarks. So why public-private partnerships? Excuse me. Public-private partnerships to us are important because immigrant integration is a dynamic two-way process, and we can't have immigrant integration if different sectors of society are not working together. And by different sectors of society, we mean government, non-government, business, civic, labor, faith, philanthropy. And all of these sectors have a stake in promoting immigrant integration. And for some of us on this call, I think the demographics are such that we're losing population, our native birth rates are low, and for others of us, we're grappling with population growth due to immigration. So regardless of where you are, where you're representing on this call, immigration really has a huge influence on the future vitality of your communities. And immigrant integration is a very important strategy in making that vitality happen. So I wanted to quickly go over the benefits of public-private partnerships, which Claire will go deeply into when she talks about her case study. So you see listed here a couple quotes from a couple of our foundation members who think that public-private partnerships are a good investment, and the reasons for that are they have great potential for leverage, influence, impact, and scale. And Claire's going to talk more about this, but basically in terms of leverage, government can bring together organizations, money, ideas, and they can bring a lot of people to the table and engage them in community discussions. They can foster innovations and create results far beyond what individual sectors can do. And I think for foundations, in terms of scale, foundations really have seen benefits of investing in municipalities because governments have access to resources, for example, tax revenues, that can help bring projects to scale. Obviously in today's economy, those capacities are diminished, but over the long term, there's a lot of leverage opportunities. Partnering with local governments, as you see in this new slide, has a lot of benefits and a lot of risks as well. On the benefit side, certainly government has a lot of infrastructure, and as well as longevity. You won't see local governments going out of business. You are seeing some getting bankrupt these days, but fundamentally, as somebody said in our case study, somebody has to pick up the garbage. So local governments will be around. Local governments have a lot of credibility and reach within their community, and we talked about leverage already. And on the risk side, it's politics, are really critical because, and are a risk in many municipalities because of the controversial nature of immigration and of all the other political elements that come into play in government. And related to politics is the change in leadership. You may have the support of a mayor who, is really into immigrant integration, but if that mayor doesn't get reelected, the program can be at risk. And finally, accountability. Grants from foundations are fairly small in relation to the tax base and the revenues and other government resources available. So some of our foundations have found that there may not be the same level of accountability as they would get from a grant to an NGO, that are very much smaller than government and are more beholden to foundations. So this is just a quick overview to set you up for hearing from Claire O'Shea about how these principles, ideas, benefits, and risks really play out on the ground level. If you would like to ask me questions later on, my contact information is right here. But otherwise, I will turn this over to Claire.
Thank you very much, Darren, and welcome to you, Claire O'Shea, from the village of Mount Prospect in the Chicago metropolitan region.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your time today. I just wanted to say thank you to the Maytree Foundation and GSER for the opportunity for us to share our story and experience about a very successful public-private partnership between Mount Prospect and the Chicago Community Trust. As mentioned, my name is Claire O'Shea. I'm a planner with the village of Mount Prospect. Just starting out, I'd like to familiarize everyone with the location of Mount Prospect. In the larger map, the red star represents the Chicago region. Mount Prospect is located in the Chicago region, but it's a separate local government, as you can see in the yellow in the smaller map. Mount Prospect has over 56,000 residents and has charming neighborhoods, award-winning schools, and we also have a very diverse population. Beginning in the mid-1990s, our community started to experience diversification of our population when Asian, Indian, Hispanic, and Eastern Europeans migrated to the area. Specifically, many of these people chose to locate in South Mount Prospect because of a range of housing options and the proximity to several employment hubs. 31% of Mount Prospect's population is considered foreign-born and are also new to the United States, so we've been identified as a port of entry. And this just means that it's the first location where a foreign-born resident moves when they move into the U.S. As Darren mentioned, the Chicago Community Trust awarded Mount Prospect with $50,000 for a feasibility study, and we chose to use this money to research the feasibility of a neighborhood resource center. Our working definition of a neighborhood resource center is a community-based hub or a one-stop shop where people may access programs and services from different organizations or agencies. And this concept wasn't original to Mount Prospect. We've got several different neighborhood resource centers in the Chicago region. It's also a take on the settlement house movement from the early 1900s. Mount Prospect has discussed this concept for over 20 years, but we stumbled over how to pay for the center and how to staff the center. So we were most interested in the administrative and financial structure recommendations from the feasibility study. So the findings were very important to us, and Mount Prospect hired Millennia Consulting to facilitate the process. The report was developed through a very comprehensive process by involving different organizations and businesses and residents. And two of the most important things from the study were that we were requiring a financial contribution in addition to services that agencies would be providing from this community-based hub, and that we'd also be hiring a receptionist to help with the coordination between all those different agencies. Once we had this feasibility study and we worked through the obstacles that we had at the beginning of the process, we had a momentum because the Chicago Community Trust then awarded us with another $50,000 to research startup expenses for a neighborhood resource center. And with this funding, Millennia Consulting helped us further define our program design, and then they helped us solidify our commitments from potential partners who shared our common goal to reach our entire population. So the Community Connection Center came about because the Chicago Community Trust ended up awarding Mount Prospect with a total of $150,000. This was over a period of 3 years. Our initial partnership led to collaboration, and we were able to raise an additional $600,000 between our library, hospital, school districts, townships, businesses, and service clubs. Two of the largest contributors are the Village of Mount Prospect and Mount Prospect Public Library, and then the community partners pay a monthly fee to help offset the operational expenses, but they provide services to the public from the center. Importantly, these organizations are all working together to coordinate service and are not duplicating their services. And then just so you know, people can access counseling, health screenings, business seminars, information and referral, and access to a food pantry from the Community Connection Center. The center officially opened in August of 2009, and our center model leverages resources in the community by strengthening our referral network and providing seamless service delivery. So our hope is that someone will enter the center for one reason and leave with information about many other programs or opportunities. So just a quick summary of our partnership. The Chicago Community Trust not only provided our crucial seed funding for this project, but they also provided us with technical assistance. So they introduced us to Millennia Consulting, and we continue to have a relationship with them because of their quality of work. The trust also was very flexible in their grant making, and specifically Juan Lay was instrumental with this whole initiative from the very beginning. At the beginning of the project and toward the middle of the first year, we had a couple obstacles that arose, and the trust and Juan were interested in our successes as they were our failures. So they really worked with us to get through the obstacles, and it helped our project evolve. And then because of this open and honest communication, we were able to adjust our scope in a very timely manner and get back on track and make sure we were still meeting our goals and the initiative's goals. Mount Prospect brought resources. Mount Prospect was able to reach out to many organizations because we've had constant involvement and interaction with many organizations in the community. So we had some existing relationships and a network to build on. So we also had been establishing our trust. We also had built political support with our elected officials throughout the years, and even before we received the grant funding, we had support from our elected officials. And now I think Kim was going to handle a poll question now this morning.
Evelyn's just going to pull in a poll question. There we go, and you'll see it in a moment. And this is an opportunity for all of you in our virtual room today to respond, give us your feedback. So the question that Claire gave me for the full question this morning is, do most organizations within your community agree that fostering immigrant integration is important and should be a common goal? So please indicate yes or no by clicking into the page provided, and we'll just give you a few seconds to let those answers come in. So we've got 35 respondents so far, and a fairly overwhelming response. Yes. Let's see. We'll just. I can see. It looks as though I'll give you 30 more seconds to respond, and then I'll broadcast the results. Okay, there it is. To broadcast the results, we had 84% of our webinar participants agreed that yes, most organizations agree that fostering immigration is important and should be a common goal. A very small proportion, I think 16%, disagreed. There you go, Claire. I'll let you continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've only been open for a couple of months, but I just wanted to share some outcome indicators with everyone. In our feasibility study, we found that access to information and the availability of information were barriers to immigrant integration. And over the past 4 months, our staff has answered over 7,000 questions from the public, and that's between both Mount Prospect and the Mount Prospect Public Library. So, and then there's many impressive statistics, but then visitors to the center have checked out thousands of materials, and they're available in English, Spanish, Korean, and Gujarati. We've got a very diverse population, so this is just a sample of those different languages where materials are available. And just in summary, I would like to leave you with a couple tips for effective partnerships. And as I walk you through these tips, I know that it's not an exhaustive list, but there are a couple things that I think are very important now that we've had a chance to reflect on the implementation of the center. And the most important, I think, is the communication. And not only was this very important between the Mount Prospect and the Chicago Community Trust, but it was also very important to our elected officials and all of the other organizations participating in the Community Connection Center. Cultivating relationships and making sure that we had an open network of organizations was also very important to this project. So Mount Prospect staff has been meeting monthly with school districts, hospitals, and social service agencies for many years, and this group was instrumental in developing our partnerships. The Chicago Community Trust was also interested in this point because they wanted to make sure that we did not need to build everything from the ground up, that we laid our foundation in making sure that we had a network set up. This gets to my next point, which is to never underestimate credibility. And our elected officials and management had been working for decades building a reputation of respect and fairness. And so we were able to approach potential partners, and they understood that the project had credibility because we were behind it. Mount Prospect's officials were also our elected officials were aware of the needs of the community. So while there had been years of education, they were also out in the community and were very aware of what the constituents needed, and that a center like this could help thousands of people and create a safer and healthier community. By the time we received the grant, the village board and our leadership were completely in support of the project. The last tip is to keep in mind the sustainability of the project. Millennia Consulting had created a sustainability plan for us as a way to lower cost burdens, but they also spent some time talking about sustainability of partnerships and to make sure that we're building coalitions and that we're managing our expectations with our partners. And so this is not only important as we're starting up the center, but as we grow and try to attract new partners, this will continue to be important. And so that's all I have for today, and I wanted to say thank you again. I've included my contact information in case anyone has more specific questions, but for now I'll hand the presentation back to Kim.
Great. Well, I want to thank you very much, Claire, for that wonderful account of a very successful public-private partnership in the city of Chicago. I'm starting to receive some questions, so I'm going to encourage you to keep sending those in to us. But right now, I'd like to leave Chicago, leave North America, and introduce you to Luca Cianfriglia from the city of Toronto, who is the lead on that city's Porta Palazzo project. So welcome, Luca.
Thank you very much. Hello to everybody. So, let's start. So, the places. I'm speaking about Porta Palazzo in Turin. That is a strange and very famous in Italy area, quite problematic area. So the places, it's important to say that Porta Palazzo is just on the center of Italy, so it's one of the few area in the center of the city that now in Italy has some important problems that we try to cope since 1997. The people is even the people is quite important. Specifically that in Porta Palazzo the people is always been the center of immigration from the last century. We are speaking about the first immigration from the valley of the mountain close to Turin, secondly from the south of Italy, and now obviously the new immigrants that normally in Turin and in Porta Palazzo is the firstly Moroccan and the Chinese and the Romanian. Some interesting phrases from writers and from the people from this area, this neighborhood. The first one, the historical one, is the Porta Palazzo is the belly of Turin. Actually, let's say that's the stomach of Turin, because of this big market that actually is the biggest in open-air market in Europe. And afterwards, Balon is the flea market in this area. Said that Porta Palazzo has always that Turin needs, but it doesn't want outside his house. Actually, you can find whatever you want, legal and illegal, here in this area. And the very interesting phrases, just from the people of Porta Palazzo, is the Porta Palazzo is a poor man internet, the physical network of virtual ties. Or better, is the place where the immigrants historically can find each information about their life, where to live, where to work, where to find a wife and to get informed and about the news of his own country. Some figures of Porta Palazzo. We are speaking about an area, a quite big area, with 10,000 inhabitants, with 500,000 square meters, but we are speaking about an area that has each single day, 1,000 pitchmen, 1,000 stalls that each day are set in this square. We are speaking about 2,050 stores in the square, because it's not only the stalls and the market, but even the shops here. We are speaking about 100,000 clients each week that reach this area from the rest of the Turin, of the city, but even from the region. And we are speaking about unemployment, 12, more or less 13% of unemployment, and 28 foreign residents. The average of Turin is 7.7. So we are speaking a very complex area, as you can see even from this slide, these figures. The gate Living or Not Living is the project actually that we set in the 1997 with you can see here on the slide, we started this experience, this challenge, let's say, with with a community, European Community Urban Pilot Project in the 1997. We stopped this project in 2001. And we did in that period 5 interventions. We developed, let's say, 19 actions, and we organized this work inventing, for Italy was more or less in that period a sort of invention. We invented a committee that, because the challenge in that period was to cope with these big issues in this area, and we had to set something different that normally is used here in Italy. So we invented a committee that for the first time, let's say in Turin, maybe in Italy too, try to gather all the different partners that were involved in what we wanted to reach at the time. So in this slide you can see the passage between the first project to the local development agency that was like, we can say, like a son of what we invented with the European Union. So we saved the same plot of intervention, so 5 areas of intervention, but we developed a lot of the action and the project. We reached now 130 action and 3 services, specialty services. We decided to save this board. This board was very successful in this area, or better, it's not only the town council, the town council that have to cope with his own area, but he must share, in a way, the challenge of a regeneration program. Here, the area. What it does, the committee, the GATE project, we promote innovation. We try to promote in the area each kind of innovation that could cope with the several problems or issues that we have in the area. Firstly, naturally, is the immigrants problems, and we outlined the GATE outlined the needs and the strategic intervention in the area. We attracted the new economical and know-how resources because this area needs absolutely that someone could gather in this area the new know-how, the new resources for inventing strategy, inventing projects. We contributed to manage a micro-conflict and meant the fragment social tissue. We contributed to effectively put the existing service in the resources in a network. So we work a lot in the network, not only with our board, that is a public and private organization, but involving each figures in this area, starting from the stakeholders to the sellers, to the organization, the association for the sellers, etc. Especially we accompanied the local community in managing the transformation, because the town council of Turin decided to invest lots of money in this area, starting the new intervention, physical intervention. So we have to bring to the intervention, to accompany, to be close to the sellers, to the inhabitant, to accept and to be determined, to be inside the new transformation, just to accept the transformation as something that is for them, not only for the town council, for the mayor. How we did it. Now it's quite important to say that we collaborating with the institution. Firstly, we are an instrument of the town council of Turin, so we can cope with the problem in this area with the different sectors of our municipality. So we involve the citizen and both public and private players, just to, as I told you, to cope commonly to approach it, to succeed in the different issues. By stimulating constitutional citizen network, we work a lot on the network just to share the result of what we were doing. we work with a transversal interdisciplinary approach. This is a specific in Italy. We try to be a little bit different in the way of working in an area. No, we decided to to involve in what we did all different sectors for the municipality or for the association, etc. We try to share the rules, the representation, the discussion modality, and the issue to tackle, of course. We spend lots of intervention in listening to the problem of the citizen that lives and works in Porta Palazzo. So, as I told you before, we divided our intervention in 5 different fields. The first one, let's say, is the economical area, in which now I decided to explain just a little project that we managed at the time. We are speaking about the Balon. The Balon is a flea market, is an historical flea market, and I wanted to tell you this story. This is an old story. Actually, we started at the end of our project in 2000, and we tried to cope with a new revolution in our system, in our national law system. Actually, there was a change in national law, and this law prohibited the activities of regular pitchmen. So we have to cope with something that in a side was historically representative of this area, the flea market, but at the same time the law doesn't give the possibility to carry on with that system. So we try to invest and to invent something that could allow this flea market to go on. So we found the irregular pitchmen, stressing condition of work, conflict, uncertain position, identity. We have lots of problems with the residents because of the noise of the night, because during the night the pitchmen have to conquer, let's say, the places where to stay instead in the day after. And the municipality doesn't have any system, law system, to cope with this phenomenon. So in 2001, we starting up an empowerment process to engage informal leaders between the pitchmen to form the Vivibalon association. Our idea was to get all people together and to make them create a new association, just to gather all the pitchmen that could sell in that area. So we promote periodically assemblies with all members, 2,000 people. We manage and mediate conflicts during the market, because actually during the night there were some knives that went around just to conquer some places where to sell. To negotiate activities with the municipality, of course, we try to match the municipality law and rules with the people that have to work, even if with the national law, they couldn't do it. We promote the social marketing with the public institution and the neighborhood. We manage the activities of the sellers, of course. In 2003, the municipality recognized the activity of Vivibalon, the association, by a resolution, and provided the association with a budget for management and with an office on the same area of the market. So in 2003, we cope with this, and the town council, the municipality, recognized the Vivibalon as the subject, the actor that could manage all the flea market in Turin. Each Saturday, several merchant takes the role of the service operator to control the market. So the same pitchmen, they manage and they control the system and the respect of the rules that we share, that we decided together. what happened now is in the 2009, because of the crisis and the Balon flea market started becoming bigger for lots of people that doesn't have work. There are lots of immigrants, people that just to selling something second-hand stuff could gain some money to cope with the week. So this system that was quite good, quite well set for a few years in 2001 became worse and worse. So we started again working that subject that we knew quite well, and so we enlarged the area and we started a new period. So we add, let's say, to the previous market 1,072 sellers according to the same rules that we decided we shared with the people in the 2001. And now I think the time for me is quite off. So here you have the little summary of the action led by the GATE project and called Vivibalon, the flea market, the famous flea market in Turin. We can see the different the summary of the steps. So in the 2001, participant observation into the area, mapping of the relation assets, identification of informal leaders, training courses upon association procedure and structures, support to the birth of the Vivibalon Association. That was the starting of all the system. In 2001, we were mapping the phenomena, number of type of PITCHMEN, kind of goods sold, dynamics and conflict, and afterwards talking with the residents to understand their problems. And so we invest in understanding how we can cope with the people that needs to sell in that way that I explained, how the inhabitants that just stay in front of the market has to be respected in their own sleep, in their own life, in their own way of moving around the area. Participating to the meeting with the municipality. So we invented let's say a table, technical table, where each little problem was analyzed, analyzed properly. Mediating with the pitchmen to understand their availability for a regulation of their activity, of course, because we are speaking about people that without lots of instruments, so we had to invest a lot in empowerment, in empowering the people that sell there. And afterwards, social area I collected, but I'm sure that you're gonna have this presentation, so even if my time is finished, you can find some other things. Now is social. This one is a project that you can find even in YouTube. Is in the Sunday we organize it's called, this project is called the In the Square to you learn. We invented lessons of all different languages that in this area is represented. So I'm speaking about Chinese, Romanian, Italian, of course, for the foreign people. And so afterwards I can give you the link to the YouTube. It's quite good to have a look. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luca. I appreciate very much your comments. It's a fascinating project, very complex, and I appreciate that we're probably only getting to a small part of it. But right from the beginning, when you described the poor man's internet to your remarks on the citizens network that starts to come out of the partnership you created there, we appreciate how important a story it is. Now, I've got a variety of questions that I'd like to quickly try to move through. A couple of them are quite specific, so I think that I'm going to ask a couple of those specific questions first. I have one from Penny Snipper, who asks, I believe, the Chicago story. Now, I'm hoping that that's appearing online Evelyn, did you get that question? Penny Snipper asks, from grant to finish, how long was the process? Would you like to comment, Claire, on how long, what was the time frame on the project you were describing?
Sure. The Chicago Community Trust awarded our grant in 2007, and we worked through the feasibility study and completed that in May of 2008. And we then were working on our 2009 budget because we're on a January-December fiscal year. So in 2009, we had about 6 months of construction and then opened in August. So it was about 3 years.
Great. And Luca, you were describing a process over a much longer period of time. I understand you started with your pilot in 1997, and you are still building on a very sustainable model. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's great. I have a specific question for Luca from Barbara with the THP, I think the Hague process. She asks, I understand many of the 172 migrants I understood many of the 172 irregular pitchmen or sales agents that were added to the association were originally irregular migrants. So she's asking whether adding them to the community undertaking and their association with the city helped them obtain their irregular migrant status.
Sorry, can I have the question written? I can't find the question.
It's on screen now from Barbara. I think she would like to know a little more about how you worked with the irregular migrants and whether this intervention helped move them in the direction of a regularization of their status.
Yes, and it's quite a complicated question actually, because the answer is quite complicated. It's not, or better, the question is easy. The reply, the answer is complicated. Actually, we are working with normally in Italy, especially now, we are working with the regular people. Also because for the irregular clandestine people, it's quite difficult to work. But we are our project is set is designed especially for helping not directly, but let's say indirectly, even the others. Let's speak about, for example, the flea market. The flea market is normally the 80% of the pitchmen in the flea market are foreign people, immigrants people. Let's say that 25% of them are illegal in Italy now. So starting from, so it's quite complicated to work seriously with this subject because of the law. Now it's quite difficult, but in some field, let's say like in the flea market, we can set something to help them in a way.
Great. I have a couple of questions here from Ratna Omidvar, who asks what you did to identify informal leaders from the immigrant community, how you were able to engage representation from the immigrant community itself.
Is it a question for me?
Yeah, well, for both of you, I think, yes.
Yes.
But maybe you'd like to start, Luca, and then hand it to Claire?
Yeah, I can reply. Great question, because normally in an area like Porta Palazzo, it's quite normal to receive someone that tell you that is the leader of a Moroccanian community. Someone, you can find someone else that can say, I'm the boss of some, So we are a little bit precise. The secret, on my opinion, is knowing perfectly well the dynamics of a certain area. So to be worried and to pay attention to someone that can present to you as the boss of, the leader of, is something a little bit more precise. You must know perfectly the community, especially because now we work especially on the target, not the community leaders, but the target, or better, the Moroccanian leaders, or better, stakeholders of certain subject, like for example sellers. He's an habitant, he's the leader of a certain building, or we don't find in an area like Turin, like Porta Palazzo, doesn't exist the leader of. It's something more complicated, because the leader firstly is something that changes on the time, and especially according to the subject. The leader of the community, of Moroccanian community, maybe is the leader of the sellers, maybe is the leader of the wife of the children at the school. So the leadership for the immigrants people is exactly like the leadership in our system, in Italian system. There is a leader of the school, there is a leader of a building, there is a leader of a street, of shops or whatever. So we work according to what we have to cope with the leaders or with the stakeholders.
And then as far as in Mount Prospect's case, we had been meeting with our local businesses in South Mount Prospect to help identify the different leaders, and what we uncovered was a very strong network within our business community, which was wonderful, and it helped this project and it helped build support. We also were working with the different school districts, and School District 59 has a parent group, and so we were working with them and asking them and the parents to go out and talk about the needs of the community and what they would like to see from the center. And then also they help publicize different events that we hold at the center too. So we're still, I think our next phase is going to be trying to build leadership within the community a little bit more, so it's more formal, and so hopefully we'll be moving into that.
Now, Ratna continues with the second question, I think really for both of you. We're so impressed with what you've accomplished in Chicago and Turin, very different stories but very successful interventions involving community and complex public-private partnerships. She asked, could you imagine making a training course available to the rest of us, producing a report that could help us learn how to do it, to accomplish what you've done in our own communities? How about you, Claire? Do you want to try that one?
Sure. I think because we knew that this was a pilot program with the Chicago Community Trust, we documented everything very well. So our feasibility study is all in writing, and we tried to keep progress reports as we went forward. And we'll also be providing the Chicago Community Trust with an evaluation of our entire project, but we'll do that once the center has been open for a year so that we have a full year of data to report back. As far as a training course, it might be particular to our community because there was so much specific demographic information, and it also helped that, we had 25 years of research and dialogue between the community and our elected officials, so we just had so much that was already being done in the community. But I'd be willing to talk to anyone if they wanted something more specific than that.
And Luca, can you imagine trying to can your experience into something that others could use? Is there any talk about sharing it in a toolkit or something?
I'm not sure to have understood the question, but the question, was there an evaluation of the Chicago project? That question you mean?
Well, that is actually one of the questions that's come in. Is about the evaluation. What kind of evaluation has been done for both of your projects? So maybe that.
Yes, we have a society that evaluate our project according to some parameters. But the success in the project, especially for the immigrants people, is always quite hard. So we are trying to invent, as I explained in the slide before, we are trying to set a system to reach the people, the inhabitants of this area, and to try to find the result and the evaluation of what we are doing. Actually, it's quite hard, it's quite difficult, it's quite expensive to have always something that can give you the possibility to understand if everything was right or not. So we said we organize our project in having some feedback, actually, not evaluation, quite from the people of this area.
Thank you. How about you, Claire? Was there an evaluation of the Chicago project, and who was involved?
Well, I know that GSER produced a report, and we, just within the Village of Mount Prospect, we developed a program design, and we have 7 goals with many benchmarks and indicators. And so what I showed you on the slide that just had many different numbers were some of those indicators, but they all relate back to our different goals that we set up to measure our own success. And so we will be reporting on those once the center's been open for a year.
Very good. We now have an interesting question from Jamie Torres. He asks, what was the level of resistance to integration that you encountered either by government or community, and how is that addressed?
Would you like me to start, Kim?
Yes, please.
Okay. As far as Mount Prospect, I hope is the norm. We had very little resistance. There were every once in a while we would get some negativity, but our elected officials, our village board members, were able to stand up and very eloquently express why this was important to the community, and it's to make sure that our community is successful and our residents and our businesses are able to achieve success in our community, and we have to take care of those people living and working in Mount Prospect. We do have, for the most part, most organizations were on board. The ones who were not on board, unfortunately, just didn't participate, and we continue to try to work with other organizations and convince them that this is for the best in our community. I think once we're able to show a year's worth of indicators, and we're already seeing some incredible numbers come in, I think we're going to be able to build even more success, build on our success, and hopefully get more people to join into our project.
And for you, Luca, how did you manage the resistance that your project may have been met with locally?
I'm not sure to be able to answer to this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure to have understood the question. So I can see here another question. I suppose for me, because in the screen.
From Guy, yes, he asks, how is success measured? I guess being able to demonstrate success is a very effective way of dealing with resistance or opposition to the project. So it's very important. So please do answer Guy's question on how you try to capture that success in Turin. How is it measured?
The success for this project, I repeat, for this project, the success is something quite difficult to say. I told you we don't have any parameters to understand the success. The success is how you wanted to do, how in a way you reached in developing, in managing your project. So the evaluation, the success of this is something that maybe on the history someone can write to you, and something that is so complicated is a little drop in a lake, let's say, each project. But anyway, I don't want to be presumptuous in this, but the subject is something that you can measure according to how, firstly, you can propose someone else with the same style, and how the people around you, I'm speaking about sellers, I'm speaking about people inhabitants, can give you the feedback of what you did on this. Afterwards, working with the immigrants people is always something strange, because it's always something that is not appreciated like something, it's something always so plenty of fog around. You can't say if it's good or whatever. You must say that we must do it and stop it. Mm-hmm. Hello? I have some problem with my screen here, with my computer. It's an action integration story.
Well, we've reached the end of our hour. We have time for exactly one more question. It's a lovely question from Mr. Vorotinek, who asks whether either project directly addressed or involved immigrant children or youth. So maybe I'd like a short answer from you, Claire, as well as from you, Luca. And on that last question regarding youth, we'll close the Q&A. So, Claire, did your project involve immigrant children or youth?
Yes, the immigrant youth and youth activities was an area that we identified as needing services in South Lawn Prospect. So that's how we worked around with, we have our library and School District 59 who have been working with youth and have been providing programs to strengthen immigrant families through the youth.
And you, Luca, would you like to tell us
about? Yes, we have some important, I told you, we developed and managed 1,035 project since now, so until now, sorry. So we have lots of programs for the children, for the youth. Now, recently we have a table called the Youth Table of Porta Palazzo. That is a network of each association that in this area work with the young people. So we have a coordination of this table, and we decided the policy of this area, how to involve the people, how to reach the immigrants, illegal minor people, etc. So it's very interesting and powerful instrument of this area. Afterwards, we are now, especially for the little, for the children, we are with the association of we created an association of women, let's say mothers, that can each whenever they want open a public garden to stay all the mothers together and to have the children playing. This garden was normally used by toxic drug addict, etc. And with the municipality we renew, we plant all with the seeds and the flowers, etc. And this little garden now they are like a self-managing system of mothers and sons, etc. This one was very interesting project because it's one of the rare cases in which Italian mothers with foreign immigrants mothers can stay together, especially have the son playing together on the garden, especially to share their own experiences and to chat one to the others. So it's very interesting, a place where to have a cup of tea with them, because they are organized to have even tea and sweets, etc., and to stay together in this public area.
Well, thank you very much. Those were lovely remarks to close this session. Both of you put the individual right back in the center of what might otherwise have been viewed as a more structural kind of approach to the problem of public and private partnerships in municipal framework. So, like all good ideas, we say adieu. Cities of Migration hopes to leave you to stimulate new thinking and engage integration practitioners and urban leaderships in a productive dialogue about one of the most important global challenges facing cities today.